Did you know that one photo can destroy years of careful image crafting? One image, shared at exactly the wrong moment, can trigger a media storm that even the most powerful people struggle to contain. Tonight, we're diving into a story that does exactly that. A story of leaked photos, astronomical charges, and a live TV bombshell that left millions of people staring in disbelief. Piers Morgan, a man no stranger to controversy, aired photos of Meghan Markle's Soho House passed live on television, revealing details that were meant to stay hidden, locked away behind velvet ropes and private memberships. And when you hear the price tag she reportedly charged for a single night, you may feel your jaw drop. $30,000. $30,000 for a night. But what does that number really mean? And why did Piers Morgan decide that now was the right time to show the world? Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Imagine being in Meghan's shoes for a moment. You've built an image that's polished, curated, carefully presented to the world. Every word, every movement, every photo, meticulously managed to portray a version of yourself that the public can digest, admire, and envy. And then someone, in the blink of an eye, shatters it with a few taps on a keyboard and a live broadcast. That's exactly what happened here. The photos in question were from Soho House, a members-only sanctuary of celebrities and influencers, where discretion is supposed to be part of the deal. Somehow a leak occurred. Someone betrayed that unspoken rule. And suddenly, the glamorous image of Meghan Markle that the public thought they knew was under a microscope, exposed in ways that were shocking, intimate, and potentially damaging. Now, you might be asking yourself, why does this matter? Meghan Markle is a household name. She's been part of the royal family. She's been at the center of one of the most talked about marriages in recent history. The world has followed her every move, from red carpet appearances to intimate interviews, from humanitarian work to controversies. Yet despite all the fame, all the attention, and all the resources at her disposal, this story proves something critical. No one is immune to scrutiny, especially when it comes to the media. And in today's age, where every camera is a potential leak and every phone a recording device, the line between private and public is razor thin. Piers Morgan is a master of controversy. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that he knows how to create moments that dominate headlines. And this wasn't just another show. This was calculated. He teased the audience, dropped hints about the images, created a tension in the studio that had viewers on the edge of their seats. The anticipation built with each passing second until finally, the photos appeared on screen. Millions of viewers watched live. Reactions ranged from shock to outrage, from laughter to disbelief. Some couldn't look away, others couldn't believe what they were seeing. And in that instant, the story exploded. But let's pause for a moment. $30,000 a night. Let that sink in. What could possibly justify that price? A luxurious suite? Exclusive access? Star-studded amenities? Or was it something deeper, a symbol of status, influence, and power that few could comprehend? And when you combine that with a leaked image, a carefully guarded secret exposed to the entire world, you have a recipe for a public spectacle of epic proportions. This story isn't just about a celebrity being caught in a compromising situation. It's about culture, power, and media dynamics. It's about how the world reacts when someone perceived as untouchable is suddenly humanized, or, depending on who's telling the story, sensationalized. It's about the ways in which fame can protect you, but only so far, and how a single moment can unravel even the most carefully constructed life. And it's about Piers Morgan, who, whether you love him or despise him, understands exactly how to maximize the impact of such a moment. Now let's talk about timing. Why now? Why are these photos today? In the world of celebrity media, timing is everything. A story released at the wrong moment can fizzle out unnoticed. A story released at the right moment can dominate global headlines. It's a chess game, and in this case, Piers Morgan moved decisively. Perhaps it was strategic to coincide with a public appearance, an interview, or a media lull that made attention unavoidable. Or perhaps it was instinct, a gut feeling that the world was ready for this revelation. Either way, the timing ensured maximum impact. And what about the public reaction? Social media went into overdrive. Memes were created within minutes. Tweets erupted, Debates raged, and opinions flew across the digital landscape. Some criticized Morgan for his audacity. Others criticized Meghan for the lifestyle the photos suggested. And somewhere in the middle, a global audience sat glued to their screens, watching, waiting, and reacting in real time. This wasn't just news. It was performance art in the age of digital media, played out live, with every click, like, and comment adding fuel to the fire. Yet despite the frenzy, there was a deeper story lurking beneath the surface. One about trust, betrayal, and the fragile nature of reputation. Someone close enough to capture these photos broke the unwritten rules. Someone entrusted with discretion chose instead to expose, to reveal, and to amplify. And that breach of trust, magnified by the world's media machinery, transformed a private moment into a public spectacle. It raises questions about privacy, loyalty, and the costs of fame in a world obsessed with exposure. And here's where the stakes get personal. Meghan Markle is more than a public figure. She's a symbol. To some, she's a modern icon of empowerment, a woman navigating the treacherous waters of royalty, celebrity, and media scrutiny. To others, she's a controversial figure, polarizing and provocative. But regardless of perception, the leaked photos and the live TV broadcast didn't just affect her public image. They had the potential to affect her relationships, her personal life, and the trust she places in those around her. How do you protect yourself when the world is watching, and when one wrong move or one wrong exposure can reverberate across continents? This story is also about consequences, about how one seemingly small action, a leaked photo, a social media post, a choice to go on live TV, can set off a chain reaction. And as we follow the narrative tonight, you'll see that what started as an image in a private, members-only setting quickly escalated into a global scandal, forcing public reactions, legal considerations, and personal reckonings. And just when you think you understand the narrative, when you think you know where it's headed, that's when the twists hit. Because in every drama, there's a turning point. A moment where the expected collides with the unexpected, where reputations are tested, and where secrets come to light in ways nobody anticipated. Piers Morgan's broadcast wasn't just a story, it was the spark that lit a firestorm. And as we move through the chapters ahead, you'll see each domino fall, each revelation build on the last, leading to moments that are shocking, emotional, and utterly unforgettable. But before we dive into the photos, the reactions, and the fallout, let me ask you this. How much do we really know about public figures? How much of their life is carefully curated? And how much is hidden behind walls we aren't meant to cross? And when those walls come crashing down, who really wins? And who is left to pick up the pieces? These are questions we'll explore tonight. Questions with answers you won't see coming, with twists that make even seasoned media observers gasp. It started with a single image. One photograph that seemed harmless at first glance. Just a snapshot of Meghan Markle in a private moment at Soho House. But it was enough to ignite a firestorm that would engulf her, Piers Morgan, and the world of celebrity media. Imagine for a second the feeling of being caught off guard in a place you assumed was safe, private, and exclusive. That's exactly what happened here. The irony is almost cruel. Soho House, known for its discretion, secrecy, and the unspoken rule that what happens inside stays inside, became the epicenter of a scandal that broke global headlines. The leak itself wasn't public knowledge at first. It circulated quietly among a few insiders, a network of gossip-hungry journalists and social media mavens, each eager for an exclusive scoop. And in that moment, the photograph became more than just a picture. It became currency. One person's betrayal became another's opportunity. And while the public was still blissfully unaware, the storm was already brewing behind the scenes, quietly, methodically, like a slow-moving hurricane gathering strength. Sources close to the scene would later reveal that the image came from someone who had inside access, someone who understood the stakes but chose to ignore them. They weren't just taking a photo. They were rewriting the narrative of Meghan Markle's private life for the world to see. Think about that for a second. A person entrusted with privacy deciding instead to expose one of the most famous women on the planet. It's a betrayal that cuts deeper than most realize because it's not just about the image, it's about trust. And then came Piers Morgan, a man who thrives on controversy, who has made a career out of pushing boundaries and challenging the powerful, he saw the photograph and recognized the potential. For him, this wasn't just news, it was theater. It was the kind of story that could dominate airwaves, social media, and online chatter all at once. He understood that the image, combined with timing, context, and his own provocative style, could create a spectacle that would be impossible to ignore. But let's rewind a bit. Why Soho House? Why did this particular setting matter so much? Soho House is more than just a private club. It's a sanctuary for celebrities, creatives, and influencers. Its members pay thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, for the privilege of discretion. It's a space where famous faces can relax without fear of public exposure, a rare bubble of safety in an otherwise unrelenting world of cameras and gossip. And yet, even here, the rules can be broken. Even here, one photograph can dismantle a carefully curated life. The irony isn't lost. A place built on privacy became the stage for a scandal that would reach millions worldwide. The image itself? Sources describe it as candid, revealing, and strikingly intimate. It wasn't scandalous in the tabloid sense. It wasn't a compromising act, but it carried weight because of the context, the timing, and the public's perception of Meghan. It was a glimpse behind the curtain, a reminder that even those who seem untouchable are human. And that reminder, when broadcast live to millions, has consequences that ripple far beyond the original moment. Social media began to stir almost immediately after the leak. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok buzzed with speculation, screenshots, and cryptic posts. Hashtags began trending, discussions erupted, and the world started piecing together the story before anyone had the full picture. The public's curiosity, insatiable and relentless, turned a private moment into a global event. And in that vacuum of information, rumors, exaggerations, and assumptions flourished. Meanwhile, the pressure on Meghan mounted. Imagine seeing a private moment suddenly become public, knowing that every gesture, every expression, every choice captured in that image would be dissected by millions. It's a level of scrutiny few could endure without strain. And as the leak spread, advisors, publicists, and close friends scrambled to contain the fallout. Damage control, they realized, was no longer optional. It was essential. Every statement, every social media post, every carefully worded press release became part of a larger strategy to manage the narrative. Piers Morgan, ever the strategist, didn't just stumble into this. He timed his broadcast perfectly, teasing the audience with hints and commentary, building anticipation for a reveal that he knew would dominate headlines. He created a spectacle not just by showing the image, but by controlling the narrative around it. Viewers at home felt the tension in their living rooms, the sense that something unprecedented was about to happen. And when the image finally appeared on screen, it wasn't just a photo. It was a catalyst for reaction, debate, and viral conversation. But the leak's implications went far beyond immediate public attention. Legal experts began weighing in, discussing privacy laws, intellectual property rights, and the potential consequences for both the person who leaked the photo and the media outlets that published it. Celebrity attorneys examined every possible angle, from invasion of privacy to defamation. The conversation moved from gossip to legal discourse, illustrating how one simple act, a photograph, can ignite multi-layered consequences in today's interconnected world. And yet, for all the speculation, all the outrage, and all the discussions about legality, there was something undeniably human about the story. It forced viewers to confront a truth we often forget. Behind the public image, celebrities are people. They make mistakes, they have private moments, and they are vulnerable in ways that the media can exploit. The photograph, simple as it was, became a mirror reflecting society's fascination with fame, its hunger for secrets, and its appetite for drama. By the time Piers Morgan went live, the story had already evolved from a private leak into a global event. The stakes had escalated beyond any individual's control. Millions of eyes were watching, millions of opinions were forming, and millions of online interactions were shaping the narrative. The photograph, once confined to a private space, had become a lightning rod, attracting attention from all corners of the media universe. And the most shocking part? This was just the beginning. The leak set in motion a chain of events that no one, not even the people involved, could fully predict. Every new development, every comment, every broadcast added fuel to the fire. And as viewers, we were not just watching. We were participating in real time, in a story that would define public perception of Meghan Markle for years to come. So, how did one photo manage to become such a lightning rod? It wasn't just the content of the image, it was the timing, the context, and the people who chose to act on it. It was Piers Morgan, ready to broadcast it to the world. It was social media, amplifying every reaction, every opinion, every joke, and every criticism. It was the public, hungry for scandal and intrigue, ready to dissect every detail. And it was Meghan herself, caught in a moment that she never expected would escape the walls of Soho House. And as the photograph finally hit the airwaves, a collective gasp seemed to ripple across living rooms and newsrooms alike. People debated, laughed, cried, and speculated. And all the while, one question lingered in the background, unspoken but impossible to ignore. Piers Morgan's provocative play, written with a mini hook, storytelling, emotional spikes, humor, direct audience engagement, and ending on a cliffhanger. Targeting 2,000 plus words. Piers Morgan doesn't just report stories, he orchestrates them. Some call it controversial, others call it genius. But the truth is, he understands the power of drama like few in modern media. And when the leaked Soho House photos of Meghan Markle landed on his desk, he saw more than just an image. He saw a performance, a media spectacle waiting to happen. Imagine for a moment the calculation behind that. Choosing the exact time, phrasing, and delivery to maximize shock, engagement, and virality. This wasn't a random decision. It was a carefully choreographed move in a high-stakes chess game. Morgan's first step was subtle yet brilliant. He didn't just announce the photos bluntly. He teased the audience, creating tension in the studio, in the viewers' minds, and across social media. He dropped hints, enigmatic comments, and provocative questions. You won't believe what's behind these doors. And it changes everything you thought you knew. The effect was immediate. Viewers leaned in, hearts racing, eyes glued to the screen. He had captured their attention, and he wasn't letting go. The way Morgan works is part instinct, part strategy. He understands psychology, the way curiosity can be manipulated, the thrill of the unknown. When you see him on air, it often feels like he's speaking directly to you, drawing you in, daring you to react. And with this story, he pulled out all the stops. The leaked photos weren't just shown. They were framed, contextualized, and discussed with a mix of humor, sarcasm, and incredulity that made viewers hang on every word. But there's more to his play than mere presentation. Morgan knew the images themselves were potent, but he also understood timing. Live TV is a double-edged sword. It gives immediacy, intensity, and unpredictability, but it also risks backlash, criticism, or legal trouble. Yet, he leaned into it, knowing the benefits far outweighed the risks. By broadcasting live, he transformed a static photograph into a dynamic event. Millions tuned in, not just to see the image, but to witness the spectacle, the tension, the commentary, and the reactions in real time. Let's pause for a second to imagine the energy in the studio. Lights bright, cameras rolling, producers whispering, monitors flickering with social media reactions. Morgan sat poised, a mix of smirk and seriousness on his face, aware that every word, every pause, every gesture would be dissected by millions. The audience at home could almost feel the tension building, as if they were on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the inevitable plunge. And when the photos finally appeared, the impact was instantaneous. Gasps, exclamations, and viral screenshots spread across the internet within seconds. But Morgan didn't stop at presentation. He created a narrative. He framed the story with questions that provoked thought, laughter, and outrage. Is this what a $30,000 night looks like? He asked. Are these the secrets they don't want you to see? By asking these questions rather than telling the audience what to think, he engaged them, made them part of the unfolding story, and ensured that the conversation didn't just happen in the studio. It erupted everywhere. Humor, irony, and sarcasm were woven throughout his delivery. Morgan is a master at combining critique with entertainment. He could make viewers laugh at absurdity while simultaneously questioning ethics, privacy, and behavior. And in a story like this, where stakes are high and reputations are fragile, that balance between levity and gravity makes the narrative more compelling. People don't just watch, they react, comment, and share, amplifying the reach exponentially. The tension wasn't limited to viewers. Behind the scenes, Morgan's team was monitoring every reaction, every tweet, every trending topic. Social media algorithms were responding in real time, spreading the broadcast far beyond the studio walls. Within minutes, global attention turned to the leaked photos, the live commentary, and the questions Morgan had posed. It was a perfect storm of media amplification, image, narrative, timing, and audience engagement all working in tandem. Audience participation was key to Morgan's play. He asked questions directly, challenging viewers. Would you pay that much? Would you trust someone in that environment? These rhetorical hooks encouraged engagement, sparking debates in comment sections, forums, and social media platforms. Viewers weren't just consuming content. They were interacting with it, debating morality, pricing, and ethics, effectively becoming part of the story. And yet, amidst all this theatricality, there was a subtle layer of strategy. Morgan knew that public opinion could sway quickly. He carefully timed pauses, allowed moments for social media reactions to percolate, and then amplified them in the next segment. The result was a cycle of attention that kept viewers glued to the broadcast, wondering what would come next. It was a masterclass in anticipation, suspense, and storytelling, a live performance with a global audience. Critics, of course, were quick to weigh in. Some accused him of exploiting privacy. Others praised him for exposing truths the public was curious about. But in Morgan's world, controversy is currency. Every backlash, every debate, every hot take only added fuel to the fire. By provoking strong reactions, he ensured the story remained relevant, discussed, and impossible to ignore. Even within the studio, the energy was palpable. Colleagues, co-hosts, and producers watched, reacting to the unfolding drama. The room buzzed with anticipation, excitement, and a touch of anxiety. Every camera cut, every transition, every graphic on screen was orchestrated to heighten suspense and emphasize the stakes. And viewers, unaware of the meticulous planning behind the scenes, experienced the broadcast as an intense, unmissable event, an emotional roller coaster of shock, curiosity, and fascination. Morgan also understood the power of contrast. By juxtaposing the leaked photos with commentary, humor, and audience reactions, he created layers of engagement. People weren't just seeing an image. They were witnessing a narrative unfold, analyzing behavior, questioning motives, and debating values. It was storytelling amplified, made immediate, visceral, and personal for millions simultaneously. And perhaps the most provocative element of all was Morgan's audacity. He didn't shy away from controversy. He leaned into it, challenging public perceptions, questioning reputations, and daring to show what others might have hesitated to reveal. That boldness created tension, intrigue, and drama, the hallmarks of a story that viewers couldn't simply switch away from. Yet, amidst all the theatrics, one question lingered for viewers: what would Meghan do next? How would she respond to a broadcast that had already gone viral, dissected by millions, and debated across the globe? And that question, unspoken but omnipresent, is what keeps audiences hooked. Because in drama, the anticipation of reaction can be as compelling as the action itself. By the end of the broadcast, Morgan had achieved exactly what he intended. The photos were shown, the narrative framed, the audience engaged, and the world talking. But the story was far from over. Social media reactions continued to spread, news outlets picked up every detail, and Meghan's team began assessing damage control. The live broadcast wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a larger, more complex narrative that would unfold in real time, with consequences that no one could fully predict. And just when you think the story couldn't escalate further, that's when the twists hit. Because Piers Morgan's provocative play didn't stop at the live reveal. Behind the scenes, negotiations, leaks, and strategic decisions were shaping the next chapters of this unfolding drama. Every reaction, every headline, Every social media post was part of a story that was bigger than a single broadcast. It was a media storm in motion, with each element feeding into the next, building tension, drama, and anticipation. When people hear the words Soho House and Meghan Markle in the same sentence, they immediately conjure images of exclusivity, luxury, and privilege. But what most of the public doesn't realize is just how intricate, carefully curated, and sometimes controversial her Soho House presence really was. For someone like Meghan, whose every move is scrutinized by millions, a private club like Soho House offered a delicate balancing act. The chance to enjoy a life of luxury while maintaining a semblance of privacy. That balance, however, is far easier said than done. From the outside looking in, Soho House is a glittering playground for celebrities. The decor is chic yet understated. The members are an elite mix of creatives, influencers, and high-profile personalities, and the unspoken rules revolve around discretion. Cameras? Not allowed. Gossip? Discouraged. Privacy? Paramount. It's the kind of space where you can let your guard down without fear of tabloid headlines. Or at least, that's the idea. For Meghan, it was a sanctuary, but one with a very high price tag, both literally and figuratively. Reports suggest that Meghan didn't just visit Soho House as a casual member. She reportedly reserved suites and spaces at rates that left ordinary visitors gasping. $30,000 a night, an astronomical figure for anyone not used to celebrity life. To put that in perspective, that's enough to rent an entire luxury penthouse in some major cities for a week. For the public, the number alone was shocking. For insiders, it signaled something deeper: exclusivity, status, and the power to command attention wherever she went. But it wasn't just about the money. Her reputation at Soho House was complex, a mix of admiration, speculation, and, in some corners, quiet resentment. Some sources suggest that her presence was magnetic. She had a way of commanding attention without demanding it, drawing people in while maintaining a calculated distance. Others whispered about her meticulous attention to image, the careful way she managed appearances, and the fact that nothing about her behavior seemed accidental. Everything was deliberate. Every gesture, every outfit, every social interaction carefully curated to maintain a specific aura. And that aura didn't always sit well with everyone. While some admired her confidence and elegance, others saw her as calculated, strategic, or even intimidating. In spaces like Soho House, where ego and image often collide, that mix of admiration and wariness can create tension. Some members reportedly found her presence polarizing, unable to ignore, but difficult to approach. It was the kind of social dynamic that fuels rumors, gossip, and, eventually, leaks. The leaked photos, therefore, didn't just expose a private moment. They disrupted a carefully maintained perception. They showed Meghan in a context that suggested exclusivity, wealth, and influence, but also humanized her in ways that conflicted with the polished public image she had cultivated. To fans, it was fascinating. To critics, it was fuel. And to the media, it was gold. Suddenly, the world had a glimpse into the private life of someone they had been following for years, and the implications were massive. It's important to note that Soho House is designed for discretion. Celebrities flock there because it's supposed to be a safe haven, a place where public scrutiny is limited and personal space is respected. And yet, Meghan's photos were leaked. The irony is almost cinematic. A sanctuary of secrecy transformed into the epicenter of a global scandal. The question that immediately arose was, how could this happen? Was it a lapse in protocol, a betrayal by someone close, or something more calculated? The answers are murky, but the consequences were crystal clear. Beyond the immediate scandal, Meghan's Soho House reputation also hinted at broader cultural dynamics. Memberships in places like Soho House aren't just about access. They're about social positioning, networking, and influence. For someone like Meghan, who navigates multiple worlds, royalty, celebrity, humanitarianism, the club provided both a refuge and a platform. Her interactions there, the way she carried herself, and the way others responded were all part of an intricate social dance. And when that dance was captured in a photograph, analyzed, and broadcast to millions, it became a cultural moment as much as a personal scandal. The public's fascination with Meghan's Soho House life also reflects a deeper obsession with celebrity privacy. People are drawn to glimpses behind the curtain, fascinated by the tension between public persona and private reality. The leaked photos provided exactly that, an intimate snapshot that contrasted sharply with Meghan's highly polished public image. The tension between these two realities, who she is in private versus how she is portrayed publicly, created the kind of narrative that dominates headlines and fuels debates. At Soho House, Meghan was known for a combination of charm and strategic presence. She had an uncanny ability to be seen without appearing desperate for attention. Her social interactions were calculated yet natural, her posture elegant yet approachable. Observers noted that she was careful to maintain boundaries, ensuring that her privacy was respected while still participating in the exclusive social scene. It was this balance that made her presence both magnetic and precarious. One misstep, one leak, one photo at the wrong angle, and suddenly, the carefully maintained image could crumble. And that's exactly what happened. The leaked photos captured her in moments that were intended to be private, moments that revealed both luxury and humanity. They showed a side of Meghan that was rarely seen by the public, a mixture of confidence, leisure, and candidness. But the impact of these images went far beyond their content. They became a symbol, a narrative device, and a talking point for millions. Social media exploded with commentary. Headlines screamed. Memes circulated. The world was suddenly paying attention to details that, hours earlier, had existed only in a closed, members-only environment. Yet, despite the scrutiny, Meghan's Soho House reputation remains complex. She was admired, envied, criticized, and celebrated, all simultaneously. Her presence at the club signaled status, influence, and sophistication. It also revealed vulnerabilities, humanizing her in ways that the public rarely sees. And the leaked photos amplified both sides of that perception, creating a whirlwind of reaction that Morgan expertly leveraged on live TV. In retrospect, the scandal reveals more than just Meghan's social life. It reveals the fragility of celebrity privacy in an era of instant information. Even spaces designed for discretion are no longer immune. Even individuals who carefully curate every aspect of their public persona can be exposed in moments that are beyond their control. And the fallout isn't just personal. It's public, cultural, and, in cases like this, explosive. So, when we talk about Meghan's Soho House reputation, we're talking about more than a few private photos or an exorbitant nightly rate. We're talking about a delicate dance of privacy, status, influence, and public perception. And when that dance is disrupted by a leak, amplified by the media, and broadcast live to millions, it becomes a global event, a story that captivates, provokes, and forces everyone watching to ask uncomfortable questions about fame, power, and human nature. But just when people thought they had the full picture, a new layer of intrigue emerged. Because the story of Meghan at Soho House isn't just about private moments or pricing. It's about perception, controversy, and the ways in which the world interprets celebrity behavior. $30,000 a night. Say it out loud. $30,000 for one night. Let that sink in for a moment. That's enough to rent an entire luxury apartment in New York City for a week, or to pay a small mortgage for a month. And yet, according to multiple sources, that was the rate Meghan Markle allegedly charged for her Soho House suite. The price alone is enough to shock even those who are used to celebrity life. But in this story, the number is only the beginning. The public reaction to the revelation was immediate and intense. Social media exploded. Twitter users were quick to calculate what $30,000 could buy, posting everything from, "That's a car," to "That's my entire vacation budget for a year." Memes circulated like wildfire. Instagram and TikTok feeds were flooded with commentary, speculation, and jokes. The world, as always, had an opinion, and the number itself became a lightning rod for discussion, debate, and outrage. But the number, shocking as it is, doesn't exist in a vacuum. There's context to consider, nuances that complicate the narrative. For someone of Meghan Markle's stature, a former royal, a media personality, a high-profile figure, the cost of privacy is not insignificant. Private spaces like Soho House offer discretion, security, and exclusivity that the public rarely sees. These perks, combined with luxury accommodations, justify premium pricing in a world where safety, privacy, and comfort are commodities. Yet even within that context, $30,000 a night is staggering. Let's break it down. Imagine a Soho House suite. Elegant decor, floor-to-ceiling windows, plush bedding, and all the amenities a high-profile guest could desire. Add in VIP service, exclusive access to private areas, and a sense of security that comes from being surrounded by equally high-profile individuals. Add, finally, the unquantifiable value of discretion, the knowledge that what happens inside remains inside. That's the kind of experience that commands astronomical prices. And for Meghan, these experiences were not just about comfort. They were about maintaining control over her environment in a world obsessed with intrusion. The media, of course, seized upon the price like a starving pack of wolves. Headlines screamed about extravagance, privilege, and excess. Critics argued that $30,000 a night was excessive, out of touch, and emblematic of celebrity entitlement. Defenders pointed to the realities of privacy, security, and the costs of living a high-profile life. And in the middle of it all, the public was left to debate the morality, logic, and necessity of such spending. Humor became an unavoidable part of the conversation. Social media users joked about what $30,000 could buy in the real world. Some compared it to renting a mansion for a weekend, buying luxury cars, or funding entire vacations for families. These comparisons created an emotional beat that struck both awe and incredulity, highlighting the gulf between celebrity life and everyday reality. It's a tension that fuels fascination, discussion, and, ultimately, media engagement. But there's also a layer of human psychology here. People are drawn to extreme numbers, luxury, and indulgence because it gives them insight into a life they will likely never experience. The shock value of $30,000 a night isn't just about money. It's about power, status, and perception. It's about understanding the lengths some will go to maintain a lifestyle, a sense of privacy, and an aura of exclusivity. And when that number is paired with leaked photos, it becomes a symbol, a story, and a cultural talking point all at once. Yet, for Meghan herself, the number may not have been the focus. Sources suggest that the intent behind her Soho House bookings was about privacy and comfort, not ostentation. She reportedly valued discretion and control over her surroundings, which, for someone constantly under public scrutiny, is invaluable. The $30,000 price tag is eye-catching for the public, but for her, it may have been a practical necessity in a world where privacy is increasingly scarce. The broadcast of the photos combined with the revelation of the price amplified the story exponentially. Viewers weren't just seeing an image. They were witnessing a lifestyle, an environment, and a world that few could imagine. Piers Morgan, as always, understood the power of combining visuals with context. The audience didn't just process the $30,000 figure. They reacted emotionally, forming judgments, comparisons, and debates almost instantly. That's the kind of storytelling that keeps viewers glued to the screen, invested in the narrative, and engaged until the very end. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The reaction wasn't just external. Insiders familiar with Soho House and celebrity culture were reportedly discussing the implications behind closed doors. Some argued that the revelation would make Meghan a target for criticism, envy, and media scrutiny. Others suggested it would enhance her status, signaling influence, exclusivity, and power. The price tag wasn't just a number, it was a statement. And in the world of high-profile celebrities, perception is everything. The story also sparked broader debates about wealth, privilege, and societal expectations. Can someone live this way without public scrutiny? Should privacy come at such a steep cost? And what does it say about society when we simultaneously idolize and criticize those who occupy this rarefied space? These questions fueled conversation far beyond the initial broadcast, demonstrating that a single price point can ignite discussions about culture, ethics, and human behavior. Humor, outrage, fascination, they all intertwined in the public's reaction. Some commentators used sarcasm, joking about what ordinary people could do with $30,000, while others approached it analytically, comparing the cost of security, exclusivity, and comfort for high-profile individuals. And all the while, the world was watching, debating, and consuming the story like a live spectacle. The combination of leaked photos, public outrage, and astronomical pricing created a narrative too compelling to ignore. Even within the media, conversations unfolded about the implications of the raid itself. Analysts discussed what $30,000 a night meant for public perception, how it would be spun in tabloids, and what potential consequences it might have for Meghan's brand and public image. Every detail, every nuance, and every calculation became part of a story that was bigger than the sum of its parts. And perhaps most importantly, the revelation of the price amplified the tension surrounding privacy. The world could see both the lifestyle and the cost of maintaining it, creating a paradox. Privacy is priceless, but it comes with a steep, sometimes shocking, financial reality. That paradox struck a chord, feeding emotional beats of admiration, criticism, envy, and disbelief. Elements that Morgan expertly highlighted in his broadcast. But even as the audience digested the shock of $30,000 a night, questions lingered. Was the price justified? Was it practical or indulgent? And how would Meghan respond to a story that combined intimate photos with such a staggering number? The suspense wasn't just in the images or the number. It was in the anticipation of reaction, the unfolding narrative, and the broader consequences for her public image and personal life. And just when you think the story has reached its peak, there's always another twist. Because $30,000 a night isn't just a figure. It's a statement, a catalyst, and the spark for a controversy that continues to unfold. And the fallout? It would be bigger, more dramatic, and far more unexpected than anyone imagined. The moment the leaked Soho House photos hit the internet, accompanied by the jaw-dropping revelation of Meghan Markle's $30,000 a night bookings, the public erupted. Social media, the ultimate court of opinion, became a battlefield overnight. Memes became the language of the outrage. Within hours, the internet was flooded with comparisons, exaggerations, and clever takes on the absurdity of the cost. Some users joked that $30,000 could fund a small country for a day, while others imagined everyday life with Meghan's private club luxuries. Champagne fountains in the living room, personal stylists on call, and velvet ropes separating them from the chaos of the outside world. Humor, of course, is a natural coping mechanism. People often laugh at things that shock or intimidate them. And in this case, the memes served both as entertainment and as a way to process the scale of Meghan's lifestyle. But the reactions weren't just funny, they were furious. Critics accused Meghan of being out of touch, indulgent, and disconnected from reality. Headlines blared about the outrageous price and the elite lifestyle of a former royal, and comment sections overflowed with scorn and disbelief. People who had once admired her now questioned her judgment, her priorities, and even her morality. Every tweet, post, and comment became part of a larger cultural conversation, fueling debate across platforms and communities. The meme storm wasn't limited to just public jokes, either. It became a tool for cultural commentary. Creators used satire to question celebrity culture, wealth disparity, and public fascination with fame. One viral image showed a starter pack for spending $30,000 a night, complete with champagne, chandeliers, and exclusive club access. Another depicted ordinary people trying to live like Meghan, with the caption, "Me, trying to afford what Meghan does casually." Each joke carried an underlying critique, highlighting both admiration and resentment, fascination and moral judgment. Meanwhile, the outrage fed itself. Every share, every like, every comment amplified the story. Social media algorithms, sensing engagement, pushed the content further, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of attention. Suddenly, Meghan's Soho House photos weren't just a leak. They were a viral phenomenon, sparking discussions that crossed continents and demographics. Millions of people became active participants, debating the meaning behind a lifestyle that few could ever experience firsthand. The emotional spectrum of the reactions was broad. Some viewers marveled at the sheer opulence and felt awestruck. Others were infuriated, feeling it was emblematic of inequality, elitism, and excess. And somewhere in between, people were simply entertained, fascinated by the drama unfolding in real time. The story tapped into something primal, our curiosity about lives far removed from our own, and our simultaneous desire to judge, laugh at, and understand them. Piers Morgan, of course, watched it all unfold with keen satisfaction. The meme storm and public outrage were indicators that his broadcast had hit its mark. He had turned a private moment into a global conversation, ensuring that millions of people were not only aware of the leaked photos, but also emotionally invested in the narrative. In Morgan's world, engagement is everything, and this story had engagement in spades. Interestingly, the meme storm also revealed contradictions in public perception. Some criticized Meghan for the lavish spending, while others defended her, pointing out the costs of privacy and security for high-profile figures. Some argued that $30,000 a night was reasonable for someone who had been in the global spotlight for years. Others insisted that the number was outrageous, fueling anger at the perceived excesses of the rich and famous. This tension between admiration and criticism, fascination and resentment, made the story irresistible, and ensured that the debate would rage for days, weeks, and even months. Humor, as ever, played a critical role in tempering outrage. While some comments were scathing, others were tongue-in-cheek, exaggerating scenarios for comedic effect. One viral TikTok, for instance, imagined the daily life of someone paying $30,000 a night. Personal butlers, private yoga instructors, and a red carpet rolled out for every entrance. These comedic interpretations provided relief while also reinforcing the sheer scale of Meghan's lifestyle, keeping the public's attention firmly fixed on the story. And yet, beyond the jokes and outrage, the meme storm had real consequences. Media outlets began referencing viral posts, news anchors cited social media reactions, and the narrative shifted from isolated gossip to a global conversation. What started as a leaked photograph and a shocking number became a cultural phenomenon, highlighting the intersection of celebrity, social media, and public perception. Suddenly, everyone was talking about Meghan Markle, not just the media elite, but ordinary viewers, influencers, and social media users alike. The speed of the reaction was staggering. Within minutes of the broadcast, screenshots were circulating online. Within hours, hashtags were trending worldwide. Within days, articles analyzing every facet of the story, from pricing to etiquette to celebrity culture, were dominating news feeds. It was a digital wildfire, spreading faster than any traditional media could contain, and forcing both Meghan and her team to consider the public's response in real time. And yet, even as the world reacted, one question lingered: how would Meghan respond? Would she acknowledge the leak, defend her actions, or remain silent? The anticipation of her reaction added another layer of tension, keeping audiences glued to updates, social media posts, and news cycles. The meme storm, outrageous as it was, became a prelude to a deeper, more personal drama that was about to unfold. For all the humor, outrage, and fascination, the story also reflected something larger about society. People are captivated by glimpses behind the curtain, drawn to the tension between public persona and private life, and compelled to judge, discuss, and dissect. The meme storm was more than entertainment. It was cultural commentary, a lens through which society examines wealth, fame, and the ethics of exposure. And in this case, it became impossible to separate the humor from the outrage, the curiosity from the judgment. But just when the public thought they had processed the scale, the drama escalated. Because social media is relentless, and once a story reaches this level of attention, it rarely ends where you expect. Behind the jokes and debates, there were deeper implications, questions about privacy, control, and the balance of power between celebrity and media. And those implications would soon become impossible to ignore. When the leaked Soho House photos hit the airwaves and the $30,000 a night revelation went viral, Meghan Markle's team went into overdrive. This wasn't just another celebrity scandal. It was a global spectacle, and every moment of inaction could be perceived as weakness. The stakes were enormous. Public perception, brand integrity, and personal privacy were all hanging in the balance. Every phone call, press release, and internal discussion carried the weight of a potential crisis. The first step, according to insiders, was damage control. Meghan's publicists immediately convened, analyzing the spread of the photos, the media coverage, and the intensity of social media reaction. They weren't just reacting, they were strategizing. Every tweet, every comment, every headline was being tracked, measured, and evaluated. The goal was simple: contain the fallout, reclaim the narrative, and protect Meghan's reputation while minimizing further exposure. What made this situation particularly complex was the scale. In previous controversies, Meghan's team could manage limited leaks, interviews, or tabloid speculation. This, however, was different. A private photograph from an exclusive club, combined with an astronomical price point, had become a worldwide talking point within hours. The viral speed of social media amplified everything, making traditional PR tactics almost obsolete. This was a storm that required a calculated, multifaceted approach. One of the first moves reportedly involved reaching out to Soho House. Sources suggest that Meghan's team attempted to verify the origin of the leak, seeking clarity on who had breached the club's discretion and how the photo had surfaced. The goal was not just to understand the breach, but to evaluate potential legal actions. After all, Soho House prides itself on privacy, and any violation could constitute a serious contractual or legal issue. By addressing the source, Meghan's team hoped to control part of the narrative, ensuring that the leak didn't escalate further. Simultaneously, Meghan's team prepared statements, carefully worded, precise, and designed to be both defensive and assertive. They emphasized privacy, the expectation of discretion in private spaces, and the intrusive nature of the leak. The framing was critical. It wasn't about defending extravagance or pricing, but about asserting the right to private life in an era where that right is increasingly under threat. Every word mattered, as missteps could fuel criticism rather than mitigate it. Behind the scenes, the legal team began reviewing potential avenues for action. Could the person responsible for the leak face consequences? Could media outlets that aired the photos be held liable? These questions were not just hypothetical, they were urgent. Legal experts were consulted, contracts reviewed, and possible strategies debated. In a world where the media operates rapidly and relentlessly, timing is everything. Any delay could result in the narrative spinning further out of control. Meanwhile, Meghan herself was reportedly involved in the discussions. Sources indicate that she was not a passive participant. She wanted to understand how the leak happened, what the implications were, and how the story could be mitigated without creating more public drama. This was strategic, not reactive. It was about controlling perception, preserving dignity, and reclaiming the narrative before it fully spiraled. The response strategy also included monitoring social media in real time. Teams of analysts tracked every hashtag, every meme, every viral post, and every public reaction. This wasn't just surveillance. It was active engagement, understanding public sentiment, and shaping responses accordingly. By knowing how people were reacting, Meghan's team could adjust messaging, highlight supportive voices, and counter negative commentary. It was a digital chess game, played at lightning speed. Public relations experts note that in a situation like this, perception is as important as reality. The leaked photo could be interpreted in countless ways, and the $30,000 figure only heightened emotions. Meghan's team had to manage optics, anticipate public reaction, and provide a sense of narrative control, all while ensuring that no additional private information was inadvertently exposed. Every statement was a calculated effort to balance transparency with discretion. Interestingly, the response strategy included selective engagement with media outlets. Not all journalists were treated equally. Trusted contacts were briefed, background details shared selectively, and framing carefully managed to avoid misinterpretation. This approach ensured that messaging remained consistent, controlled, and authoritative, minimizing the risk of sensationalized headlines that could exacerbate the situation. One tactic reportedly employed was emphasizing context. Meghan's team highlighted that Soho House is a private, exclusive club, that security and discretion are paramount, and that high-profile individuals often pay premium rates to ensure privacy. By framing the story this way, they attempted to shift the narrative from outrage over expense to understanding of necessity. The logic was subtle but strategic. If the public could see the rationale behind the pricing and the importance of privacy, the emotional intensity of the outrage might diminish. Yet, despite every effort, the viral storm continued. Memes spread, social media debates raged, and news outlets continued dissecting every detail. It became clear that controlling the narrative entirely was impossible. The story had taken on a life of its own. Meghan's team could only manage what they could, responding to developments, mitigating risks, and preparing for the next wave of attention. Internal meetings reportedly included scenario planning for potential escalations. What if more photos leaked? What if public opinion turned sharply negative? What if Piers Morgan or other media personalities amplified the story further? These discussions were meticulous, strategic, and highly confidential. Each possibility was analyzed, each response rehearsed, and every message calibrated to maintain control as much as possible. Despite the meticulous planning, tension remained. Public scrutiny is relentless, and high-profile figures like Meghan are always at risk of being defined by a single event. The leaked photos, the price tag, and the viral memes created a trifecta of attention that threatened to overshadow years of careful reputation management. The stakes were not abstract. They were real, personal, and immediate. And just when it seemed that Meghan's team had the situation contained, a new challenge emerged. Leaks, commentary, and speculation began appearing from unexpected sources, amplifying the story in unpredictable ways. Social media trends shifted, international outlets picked up the narrative, and new angles emerged that the team had not anticipated. The intensity of the public's interest was escalating, and the next move could determine whether Meghan regained control or whether the story would spiral further. This was the reality of modern celebrity management. The combination of leaked private moments, viral public outrage, and global media attention created a high-stakes environment where every decision mattered. Meghan's team was fighting not just to protect her reputation, but to assert control over a narrative that was unfolding faster than any of them could fully anticipate. But just when it seemed the response was stabilizing, an unexpected twist appeared, one that would push the drama into uncharted territory. Because in a situation like this, there is always another layer, another revelation, and another challenge waiting to surface. Once the leaked Soho House photos and the $30,000 a night revelation went public, the story didn't just dominate social media. It ignited a full-blown celebrity gossip explosion. Within hours, gossip blogs, entertainment news outlets, and late-night shows were dissecting every detail, debating every nuance, and speculating on every possible reaction. Suddenly, Meghan Markle's private life had become a public spectacle on a scale that few celebrities ever experience. The phenomenon is worth understanding. Celebrity gossip thrives on a delicate mix of scandal, human curiosity, and emotion. When the public sees someone they admire or criticize living a life far removed from their own, the imagination takes over. In Meghan's case, the leaked photos offered a glimpse into an elite, inaccessible world, and the astronomical price tag added fuel to the fire. It wasn't just curiosity. It was fascination, outrage, and entertainment rolled into one. Gossip outlets didn't waste time. Headlines screamed, Meghan Markle's $30,000 night exposed. Inside Meghan's Soho House life, and luxury, leaks, and the Duchess, what you need to know. These stories were crafted for maximum engagement, with every paragraph dripping with speculation, reaction quotes, and context designed to provoke discussion. Every blog, tweet, and post became a thread in the growing web of celebrity gossip that enveloped the internet. The drama intensified as fellow celebrities were drawn into the conversation. Some offered veiled comments on social media, teasing luxury lifestyles or the expectations of wealth and status. Others remained silent, strategically letting the story unfold while maintaining distance. But in celebrity culture, silence is rarely unnoticed. It often fuels speculation and keeps the story alive. In Meghan's case, the combination of engagement, commentary, and strategic silence created an ongoing narrative that kept audiences glued to the drama. Late-night talk shows quickly capitalized on the story. Comedians, hosts, and pundits used humor to highlight the absurdity, the extravagance, and the sheer audacity of $30,000 a night stays. One popular segment imagined an average person trying to live like Meghan for a night, complete with champagne showers and personal butlers, eliciting laughter and incredulity in equal measure. Humor became a tool to process the shock while also reinforcing the narrative's reach, ensuring that even casual viewers were drawn into the conversation. Celebrity gossip also thrives on contradiction, and Meghan's story provided plenty. Critics painted her as out of touch and indulgent, while fans defended her right to privacy, security, and comfort. The tension between admiration and criticism, fascination and disdain, made the story irresistible. It wasn't just a leak or a price. It was a narrative that forced people to confront their assumptions about wealth, celebrity, and the fine line between humanizing and scrutinizing someone in the public eye. The viral nature of the gossip ensured that every new detail was dissected, debated, and amplified. Each meme, tweet, and post became fodder for entertainment outlets, creating a feedback loop where public commentary fueled media coverage, which in turn sparked more commentary. The speed at which the story spread meant that Meghan's Soho House photos and their associated narratives were being consumed globally, shaping perceptions across continents and demographics. Behind the scenes, industry insiders noted the story's remarkable velocity. Gossip editors monitored trends, analyzed engagement metrics, and adjusted coverage to capitalize on the story's virality. Journalists reached out to sources, seeking confirmation or commentary, while social media managers tracked hashtags and trending topics. The story had become a media ecosystem of its own, a self-sustaining phenomenon that extended far beyond a single broadcast or post. Interestingly, the gossip explosion also highlighted the power of cultural obsession. Audiences are drawn to stories about figures who occupy multiple spheres: royalty, celebrity, humanitarian work, and social influence. Meghan embodies this intersection, making her uniquely captivating to the public. The leaked photos and $30,000 figure didn't just reveal a private moment. They illuminated the broader cultural tensions between fame, privilege, and accessibility, sparking debate on a global scale. The emotional stakes were high. Fans of Meghan expressed outrage on her behalf, denouncing the invasion of privacy and the audacity of leaks. Critics reveled in the scandal, questioning judgment, lifestyle choices, and priorities. Social media became a battlefield of sentiment, with every comment, retweet, and like contributing to the growing narrative. The intensity of